Welcome back to a new episode of Emerging Brands Podcast with Kelly Bennett. Today I am here with founder and chef of Pink Salt, Palita Sriratana is on the show. Did I get it right?
Yeah, you did.
Okay, awesome. Is on the show today, and I've been following you online, seeing all of your amazing culinary creations. Have been trying Pink Salt myself, and I'm really stoked to dive in behind the scenes of the brand with you today.
Thank you so much for having me today. I've been really looking forward to this all fall.
Awesome. So I would love to kick things off. I know that you are a chef and now turned founder. So could you give us a behind the scenes of your career and how you became now in the CPG space from being behind the scenes in culinary?
Oh my God. I guess I should probably start from like the top. I actually worked as a research scientist and I developed drugs for parasites. I think a lot of people don't know that.
Wow.
My parents really wanted me to be a doctor. And at the time I had this food blog and I was like, you know what? I had known since I was 6 years old that I had loved food. And then eventually I was like, you know what? I have to open a restaurant or it will forever suck the life out of me that I'm not doing what I want. So in 2019, I opened a restaurant in Chicago's Fulton Market. And as you know how 2020 went, we closed. And so I did pop up for 2 years. And I really wanted to differentiate my concept, Pink Salt, from existing Thai restaurants. Thai restaurants here do a lot of the same dishes, but I really wanted to dive in and make my own sauces and curry paste. And of course, I started selling the extra sauces and paste. And one in particular, they all stood out, but one in particular really took off. As you know, it's called Nut Cacao. It's ready to eat and it's also really wonderful to cook with. So that became our flagship product. And that's how I got started.
That is such a wild ride from going from opening up a restaurant, excuse me, in 2019 and then 2020, the world shuts down.
Clothing. Yep.
What did you think to yourself of like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do now?
Oh, well, I think the first thing was I'm going to go take a nap.
That's
um,
fair.
yeah, I think, initially at first it was just making sure I was healthy, making sure that my family members were healthy. I was a little bit at a loss for a while, and doing pop-ups was like very daunting. I was like, like
It's
we're
a
not
lot
able
of
to have
work.
contact.
It's a
It's a
lot of
lot of
work.
work already. And then to make sure that everyone's vaccinated and all this and all the moving parts and entering
Right.
kitchens when, it's like safe and all that. But, I started a series called Room Service for fun. It started off as an art project, started off very small. Um, I love food styling. It became a part of, like having a blog. And so I created these dishes that you would see at a lot of Thai hotels. You open the menu, you would get the hotel you just arrived and like these are all the highlight dishes of Bangkok or whatever region you're in, just presented really beautifully. And so I wanted to change how people felt about takeout. Takeout kind of feels like leftovers, and by the time it gets to you, all the textures are a little off.
Right.
So actually, a lot of the cook was like um, these pre-boxed meals, but I didn't want it to feel like leftovers. Like you opened it and it was beautifully presented, and it came with a menu, and it came with a story of like what inspired me to do those dishes, and you could add on sauces, and then also it gave you reheating instructions, so it didn't feel like leftovers. So initially I was like, I'm just going to do 20 of these. This is like this little art project. I was like, maybe I go back to blogging. I have no idea what I'm going to do. And then it just took off. Next thing I knew, I was like, I opened the sales for that and the 20 boxes sold out in 3 minutes. So I was like, called my
Wow.
sous chef and I was like, hey, like, I think I need you again, like now, please now. And I was like, and I did some calculations, like if we added on 60, you can do this. Like it'll make my cost make sense. And then the week following, we did 200 and people just got really into it. So I thought of
Wow.
it was
So
like
you went
a
from
meal
20 to
kit.
200?
Yeah, it went from 20
Wow.
to 200 in like a week. Like it was featured on Eater.
Wow.
It really just made its rounds. I just really wanted to present Thai food in a very fun way. So you would pick it up and it would be like a perfect meal for two, or you could split it and it would kind of be like you could have one box for dinner tonight and then one box for lunch tomorrow, where it
Oh,
didn't
that's
feel
cool.
gross. It felt really exciting. And it was dishes that we here in Chicago don't have. They might be a little bit more tedious to make, but I really wanted to show a different side of Thai food. And, while we were all stuck at home, like, why not have a little bit of our imagination? So I'd see pictures of customers in robes and enjoying it and pretending that they're like in a luxury hotel at home.
That's really cool. I love that you went
Yeah.
from 20 to 200. That just also shows, I think, your entrepreneurial spirit of like,
Yeah.
okay, let's really try it. Like, to me, that's like a true entrepreneur. That's like, how far
Yeah.
can we take this? When you have something sell out in 3 minutes, that's a really good sign. You're
They're
onto
like,
something.
oh, this is, yeah.
Yeah. So, you did the pop-ups, and then when did you start selling the, sauces that you were making?
So I want to say about 2 or 3 rounds in with a pop up, I'm not an existing restaurant. So that inventory has to be depleted that night.
Right.
Otherwise, it's
It's
waste.
waste,
And
right.
like I try to operate with very little food waste as possible. Even for the pop ups, it's calculated to, from a chef standpoint, one drop of beef shoulder. Oh, okay. So I know I'm working off of 44 pounds of chuck roast. So I will use up all of that chuck roast in that one pop up. But if I'm making sauces and curry paste and I had some extra, and a lot of my followers, because some of them might have come from the blog, they're naturally curious to like cook with it. And I was like,
Right.
oh, well, I have some extra like chili sauce and I have some extra curry paste. If you want to take it home, you can add it on. It was like that extra $3 or $4 to your kit if you want to add that. And then also, Thai food is meant to be very customizable. Everyone has like their own taste. So even like when you're eating in Thailand and you grab a bowl of noodles from the street, you see kind of like this sauce caddy. It's sugar, fish sauce, dry roasted chilies, and you adjust the flavors of it. So it's like you kind of control your spice and your sweetness. So, I wanted to mimic that same feeling. Is like some people might not like spice, but some people are like, I eat Thai food to get spice. So it's
I'm
like, how
raising
can
my
it's
hand.
like,
Yeah,
exactly.
absolutely.
So it's like, if I prepped all of these meals and it's the same level of just like medium spice, very flavorful, I needed to add something that was customizable for the guest that wanted spice.
That totally makes sense. So they were able to start understanding how they could add spice and really specialize it to their taste buds. I like
Exactly.
that experience too, just from like a pop-up or takeout that you were educating people of like, no, you could actually make
Yeah.
this custom to what you like. I think that is also a unique piece that you were doing
Yeah.
too, of having people feel more creative and engaged with not just like opening a box and eating it, but they were actually part of the experience too.
Yeah. Like it was a very tangible experience. Like there was no chopping or cutting. Some of it, my favorite one was this crispy rice salad. So it came as a box of the crispy rice, and then you had to dress it. So I gave you a pouch of herbs. I gave you some sliced onions and cucumbers, and then I gave you a dressing. So then you got to toss it all together. So it's still like crunchy and sour, whether you got to it that night or whether you got to it 2 days later, it
Oh my
was
God, that sounds
still
so good.
still really delicious. And on the menu, it say like bake this for 10 minutes. So it's crunchy. But if you don't, you can microwave it for a minute. Like really just
Right.
depends on where you're at. And then for me, understanding Thai food kind of, I think that there's this feeling where Asian food should be cheap when actually, it deserves just as much as any other cuisine. And so it's like unlearning that. And how do we unlearn that is like teaching, like, there's so many components and layers to Thai food. And I'm not going to cut corners, but now you get to see, like, oh, these are the herbs that went into the salad. These
Right.
are the layers. this is the texture. And so being able to like talk through that on the menu, and it gave you something to do. I don't know whether everyone read it, but like, it's like, oh, this region is like Isan style. So like spicy, salty, sour, a little bit bitter and sweet to kind of tame it out. We kind of just like explored that. And I hope people left that series with a deep appreciation.
It sounds really cool. That's something totally up my alley that I would have been buying it every single week. So
Yeah.
you started now getting people interested in buying the sauces. You're seeing that take flight, so to speak. What was then that moment when you're like, I'm gonna make this its own brand, or like bottle this and really make this a thing?
Yeah. I mean, the cut and dry answer is someone asked for me to jar it so that they could give it to someone. And I was like, I don't quite remember how to can, but like, let me get back to you. But again, when I had a food blog, people would ask, well, I want to make that dish at home. Where can I find that ingredient? And like, I grew up in a small town, so like, we didn't have Asian grocers. We had one, and it was all of it, like Taiwanese, Chinese, Japanese, and it was just like a small place. So we didn't have like all the specialty Thai ingredients. We had to just kind of
Right.
make do. And so like in the 90s, we just didn't have access to nearly as many ingredients. And so it's like, how can I teach someone how to make Thai food when they can't even access it? And so now
Right.
being able to offer the sauce that also acts as a starter. If you get the classic iteration, it has fish sauce and shrimp paste. So like all these things that might be too difficult to commit initially, because when you buy shrimp paste, you buy this massive jar that's $20, and it is pretty pungent.
Total.
And it's
I
like,
don't buy it because I'm like I don't want to mess it up, or
exactly, and just a little too much
right.
can really just like take it. And so with Num Prick Pow, having it already balanced for you, it was something I knew that I wanted to do eventually. And then this kind of just brought me back to it. Like not having the restaurant anymore, the customers were asking for it. And then someone asking for it for Christmas. And I was like, yeah, I'll just release 72 jars. And I just remember 2 weeks before I said I would release it, I was like, I can't get these lids to stay sealed. I was like, I don't know what I'm doing.
Oh my gosh. So
Yeah,
did you end up selling the 72 jars?
I did. Again, those sold out in 40 minutes. They
Amazing.
launched on this site called Here Market. They're still my number one online retailer. I don't even handle my own D2C sales because they just do such a fantastic job. They operate differently. I could see a walking billboard for them. They
What is it
operate
called?
differently than other
Here
hereheremarket.com.
Market.
So,
Cool.
so they offer a lot of products directly from chefs. So they're like very micro batch.
Oh, very cool.
And the reason why they're able to do that is they work off of consignment. So like typically when I wholesale, it's a 60-40 split. I get 60 or the store gets 40 or 50-50, depends on the store's
Right.
marketing structure. But here market, it's 78% goes to me and then 22 goes to them. But I'm not paid out until the end of the month. So I have
Got
a
it.
lot more control over the product because it is consigned. And so I knew that they did that. And I knew I wanted to keep the sauce line nimble because I was like, it may or may not do well. And it did well, but I will tell you now, the current batch of Naan Cow has 300 grams of dry roasted chilies. The first batch had almost 900.
Oh my gosh.
So, it's like
What's
for
going on
me,
there?
I
Yeah,
love spice,
me too.
but that first round, and it's like, some people were like, Lita, it's spicy. And I was like, yeah, but type is supposed to be spicy, just use less, I was like me being
Right.
a little stubborn. But then when three of my friends were chefs, they're like, hey, Palita, this is really spicy. And I was like, got it. So we finally got to a place because Thai food is meant to be spicy. If it's not spicy, I just don't think it's as good. But I feel like where this product is right now, it's a perfect balance of spice. I think Thai chilies have a really good floral note with it. And then
Right.
that with a little bit of sugar kind of makes it just super balanced and easy to eat. And also it pushes, like, I feel like my friends all eat spicier now because of the jam.
And I think overall in the US market, people are understanding the flavor profiles of different spices. I feel like people are becoming a bit more hip to exploring their palate. As I
Yeah.
can only speak as like millennial, and I feel like Gen Z, like I feel like the younger generations are more open and have been more well versed in
I
different culinary.
100%. Growing up, I feel like we only had Laogan Ma as like a chili crisp and sambal oleg, which is more chili vinegar.
Right.
And then to see amazing brands like Fly by Jing, Amsam come out and
Right.
really expose Gen Z and millennials to seeing all these nuances. And it's it's tough because it's bringing up the price point a bit, but people are understanding why and the
Yes.
flavor complexities. And
Yes.
so it's like Nam Prik Pao is not a chili crisp or a chili oil, but it's a jam. So I knew that like when that was starting to creep up, and I was like, this might finally be the time. Like I feel like people are into it and they're looking to
They're
what's
understanding
next.
more.
Yeah. And then mine has tamarind and palm sugar. So it's kind of like, all right, we've had all the chili crisp, we've had all the chili oils. How do we get what's next?
So cool. So what was the
Yeah.
strategy around launching? It sounds like you use the here market to get it out initially, but as far as like going into more wholesale accounts or just building up the brand itself, what was the strategy around that?
Initially, I thought I would file a new LLC for the sauce line. Um, but the combination of all my kitchen licensing was attached to this LLC, and
That makes
people
sense.
recognized pink salt throughout Chicago. That helped me get into my friends' restaurants, into my friends' boutiques. And so, actually, the first year, I was only in women-owned boutiques.
So cool.
And yeah, like they reached out to me. I had done catering for them, or I'd worked with them, or I've done dinners for them, or you just know women that are for other women and that just
Right.
want to support. They're like, hey, like like the first time I got asked to wholesale, I had to like go and Google. I was like, what's the cost split of wholesale? I joined an incubator program called Sprout, not the online store, but it's called Sprout here in Chicago. And it kind of just helped explained like how to handle wholesale, what licensing I had to get, and how to handle my cost of goods. And so it just slowly, like one foot in front of the other, I took on one wholesale account, took on another. That person talked to another, got another. And then there was a grocery store by me that I will always shout out their names, Agora Market out here in Chicago. I shop there every probably 2 or 3 days. They have everything, and it's such a small place. And so, like for food styling stuff, the fact that they have everything from microgreens to the pretty radicchio, they have it. And one day I was like, I never wanted to ask them
Right.
because I was afraid that, like, oh shoot, if they take it, every time I'm here is no longer like pleasurable because then I'll just be watching like a hawk if my product is moving. But I was leaving, and the store owner was like, hey, I think you're the one that sells the jam, right? And I was like, yeah. He's like, can we carry it? And I was like, okay. So next week he was carrying it on the shelves. It's on top of the deli section because you can have it on a cheese plate. It's over by the wine. It has a great pairing, and it's also in the condiment aisle. So it's been doing
So
really well
cool.
there. And so that prepped me to be able to take grocery stores, and we'll be in fresh time.
Oh, okay, cool. So fresh
I
time.
just found out last Friday. So
Oh my gosh, congratulations. That is
thank you.
major.
Yeah.
And then what was the name of the grocery store in Chicago?
It's called Agora Market. They're
Oh,
absolutely lovely. They are an independent grocery store out here. And they just really work with local makers
so
to
great.
really highlight them, put on end caps. Um, he just has a good relationship with all the business owners. His name is Costa, and Costa's manager, Nico. The two of them are just fantastic.
Amazing. So what is the trajectory closing out Q4, heading into 2025? What is the strategy of this next stage of growth for you?
Man, sometimes I don't know. Again, it's putting one foot in front of the other.
Right.
Uh, this Q4 is just making sure that I tackle corporate ordering really
Okay.
well. It is a highly giftable product. Just making sure that, I brought on 3 people on my team in August, which is
Amazing.
insane. So definitely in a very big growth period. It's very, it's like, oh man, I got payroll we have to sell every month. I have payroll to run. But launching into fresh time soon. Like we literally got the green light on Friday. And so hopefully rolling out by, who knows, by Christmas or by the new year and just being able to take on that. And that's what I had prepared my team to do. Um,
Incredible.
and when you have a strategy, sometimes things go differently. This time last year, I was gearing up to enter all of the foxtrots, which
Oh,
is
wow. How did that go for you? Because that was a wild ride with Foxtrot this year.
yeah. I was one of the up and comers category winners, so they notified me uh the Thursday or one week before Thanksgiving. It was like not ideal timing.
No.
So it's like one week before Thanksgiving, and then they're like, "Well, we need you if you can do it. Like we'll consider you to be a finalist, and we'll put you in all 33 stores." And I was like, You can do it." I called all my friends who knew how to use a knife essentially. And I was like, we're going to create enough of this product for 35 stores. I hired a consultant, got my HACCP plan in line, all the things that I like knew I needed. I
Right.
expedited and got it done in 4 weeks. It's like crazy when you have something that you want, how much you will
Yes.
do it. And so I got all of that in line literally in 4 weeks, which is like unheard of to take on 30. We now know that they merged. So then it became 35 stores. Um, and so I was in all of the stores January 9th officially, but I was on their shelves the week before Christmas. So I had a
Wow.
strategy then, and then they
Right.
went bankrupt essentially overnight. So it's just strategy just went
That flew
out
out the
the
window.
window.
Right.
But I was
So how
nimble,
did you
I was
pivot
lean.
after that?
I think I made this post that I didn't realize was going to go viral. It was just very honest. My restaurant actually closed essentially overnight. The building decided to close, COVID hit.
Right.
So oddly enough, it wasn't a new feeling. I was like,
Hmm.
life just happens like this and it's frustrating and it sucks. But, like I control my narrative. Like I get to decide what happens next. Um, and so I just laid it all out there. It's like, hey, like support your local maker. Foxtrot was really fun, but look at what happened. And at the end of the day, like they closed and their employees weren't paid and local vendors were out. Luckily, I was not one of them, but local vendors were out, net 90, like
Wow.
that was like they were 2/3 of my business. And then for them to completely shut. But I was extremely lean because this has happened to me before. So it was a huge adjustment.
That's really
But I
interesting
think
how
the
that
story resonated with people.
helped you go through
Oddly,
that.
you can take a really crummy part of
Yeah.
your story and turn it to be something positive if you want it to be.
Wow. I'm sure at the time you were like, this is the worst thing ever. And I don't know how this would ever be a positive in my life. But it sounds like you've really been so flexible and just being like, okay, we're going to change over here and we're going to make it work on this next iteration,
Yeah,
which again speaks to your entrepreneurial spirit of figuring it out as you go and making that right next step for the brand.
yeah. So it's like be nimble, be quick. Things
Yes.
you plan and plan and plan, but not everything's going to go to plan.
If you were to give one piece of advice to a founder who's maybe in the really early stages, who's, maybe a chef and wants to bottle up a sauce or possibly going through a big change of what they thought their path was going to be, building their brand, and had to make a change. Any one piece of advice you would share with them?
Mhm. One piece of advice. I would have to say that is a tough one. Like, be nimble. Things
Right.
are gonna change. Like, don't let yourself be the biggest roadblock. And like, let go of your ego. Like, if things have to change, then change with it. And like, that's the fun in like owning a business. You can be literally anything you want. Like, I created this business to literally do the things that I want. I do all the campaigns still myself. I food style, I edit. Like, it's this business is what I want it to be. And I hope other business owners know that it can be whatever they want it to be. And if it starts to feel like it's not, then you need to reevaluate.
Such solid advice. I love that. Okay, most important question, where can people shop pink salt?
So as you've heard, so you can find it at we'reheremarket.com. So that is online and nationwide, free shipping over $65. So I highly recommend you order either 5 jars or some of my friends' jars. There's some great brands on there. Milk 177th Street. I'm in cheese shops and wine shops across the country. So if you go to my website and click pinksaltkitchens.com/stockist, you will see all the specialty shops that I'm in the country, and then I'll be taking over the fresh time throughout the Midwest, hopefully very, very soon.
Congratulations on all the
Thank you.
success. What a cool story. I appreciate a true entrepreneurial spirit that really finds the right next step. And I admire your story. And thank you so much for generously sharing it with us. Everyone, go shop Pink Salt. And I can't wait to see you in more grocery stores. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. This was such a pleasure.
Awesome. You're so welcome. Thank you, everyone, for listening. And I'll see you on the next episode.